Hello everyone, and welcome to Foulmouth Pinball Tutorials. I am Dennis B, and in this video we're going to be talking about Funhouse. Probably the most homoerotic pinball game that Williams has put out to date. Why? Well, the object of the game is to bash your balls off of this dummy Rudy's chin and get him in his mouth. So there's just balls in your mouth, there's hot dogs and sausages and wind tunnels and gangways. Yeah, read between the lines there, folks. But regardless of all of that, we're going to talk about it. This is a very highly anticipated game. At the time of this recording, this is on the eve of the game releasing for the AtGames 4KP. And a lot of people are really excited about this one. So let's jump into the game itself. So what I'm going to do is I'll like I usually do for these tutorials, I'll kind of go through and talk about each of the shots. This particular table, there's really not a lot to it. You're really trying to focus on, just a small handful of shots. But right off the bat, just kind of looking at the table, the biggest thing that, that draws the eye is the big mechanical dummy there. That's Rudy, or you can call him Fuckface, because the point of the game, you're going to be fucking his face the entire game. So a lot of people look at this and they immediately think, oh, this is a lot to do with, or very much like the Red and Ted Roadshow, because Red and Ted's Roadshow also had the big two big dummy heads. But honestly, the giant talking dummy heads are really where the comparisons kind of begin and end between those two tables. If anything, I would say this table has a lot more in common with Whitewater than Roadshow. This is very similar to Whitewater. And I would say very similar to Twilight Zone as well. And the reason I say that is because, one of the key shots in Whitewater and the key shot in this is this cross shot here that actually has two different ramps. So if you guys are familiar with Whitewater, it's almost like this table layout is almost like the reverse, where it's like Whitewater has the big foot up here and it has the cross shot going this way from right to left. This one here has the cross shot going from left to right over on this side, so it's almost flip-flopped. And then another kind of key thing for on this table that is similar to Whitewater is like having the eject hole here. So again, almost the reverse. You have the eject hole on this side where the ball kind of shoots out to your to this flipper here. Whitewater has the eject hole on this side, shooting it out this way. So so when in terms of kind of like layout and the types of shots and the type of things that you're going to experience, I would say this has a lot more in common with Whitewater. And like I said, very similar to same thing with Twilight Zone. Twilight Zone, you have the crossing shot where you hit the player piano is a very key shot in the game, and you also have an eject hole right around the same place that shoots the ball out. So very similar. And if I remember correctly in the information here, this table is designed by Pat Lawler, who also designed Twilight Zone as well. Anyway, moving the fuck on. There's really not a lot to know about this table. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of, main ramps here, and then you've got your two crossing ramp shots here. You have the gangway orbit shot here. So this one here is the orbit that comes around out this side. So that's kind of like one. I wouldn't necessarily consider like this is not really a lane. This is just a kind of a dump off from the ramp. So you really only have, the orbit, and then you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shots, and then the other end of the orbit. So there's really not a ton to this table. And what I would say is, like, the shot that you're probably going to hit the most is this center shot right here. They call the hidden hallway. This is where the ball lock is. This is where you collect your extra ball. But mainly, this is the shot that you hit, where when you hit the ball up this center lane, it's going to trap the ball for a second. Rudy's going to talk his shit, and then the ball's going to slowly be released or be ejected from here. There's actually kind of a collection of balls that ends up here. It gets ejected, rolls down right to your flipper for your cross shot. So this is the one you want to try to hit to really just kind of lay the ball in easily for your cross shot. Now, I will say this cross shot is much harder than Whitewater, in my opinion. We'll see how it goes when it comes out on 4KP, how the physics and everything work. But right now, timing wise, this is, for me, for my money, it's kind of hard to hit. But as long as there is no lag or very limited lag, it should be easier. I have played this on Zen Pinball World, and it is much easier to hit when you have, you know, next to no lag. But for this purposes, so what you're seeing here, this is actually Pinball FX being played via OTG on my Legends Pinball HD. So anyway, so the ramps, as we talked about, this is your orbit shot here. So again, you shoot this up here. If there's a little light that says gangway here, when this is lit up and you shoot this orbit, what it does is it advances these lights here. You collect the one that's lit up and flashing, like in this particular case, it's flashing 150,000. So if this were lit, I would collect that and then move it on to the 200,000 so you can kind of hit that. And then the same thing, the reverse is true as well. When this little yellow light here is lit, that gangway is active, and that's how you collect that. So this is one way we can get up, again, 150, 200, 250, all the way up to an extra ball. So if you can hit this shot when it's lit, that's how you collect that. And you can light that by actually shooting it. So if it's not lit, you shoot the orbit for the first time, it'll light it, and then you can shoot it up again. I believe there are other ways to light it right here on the inner sorry, on these in lanes. I think it's actually just this in lane, so you can't read that one. This also lights the gangway. So anyway, that's how you light that. Now, my personal recommendation is not to really shoot for this shot up the gangway, this part of the orbit, because it's just too fucking dangerous. So you have the scoop eject hole here, and you've got, you know, literally you got a bumper here, you've got a spot target there, and it's just a very tight shot. And then of course you've got your pop bumpers on the other side. So trying for this shot, again, you can do it, but you really run the risk of, like, you know, just clanking it and having it come right back out, or clanking it and then it hits your, you know, it starts bouncing around everywhere and eventually is going to find its way out or to an out lane. So it's a shot you can make. It's just very difficult. I wouldn't do it. Now, for me personally, what you know, my recommendation and my strategy is to just constantly be pounding these lanes here. And so we'll get to those in just a second. So that's the orbit, that's the gangway, that's how you get these points here. Okay, this one right here is, they refer to it in any instructions, anything you kind of see that's, you know, referencing this table, the rule set. This is called the ramp. So what it does normally is you shoot the ball up here and it wraps back around and it feeds the ball. This is this rail here. It feeds the ball down this rail, down to your left in lane and down to your left flipper, and that, you know, for your next, setting you up for your next shot. So, during kind of, you know, quote unquote normal play, You shoot the ball up here, it's getting fed right back down to your left flipper. But as you can see, there are a couple of lights here. Now, there's one light where if it's lit up for 250K, that's just collecting a score there. And then there's also a steps light. So the steps is actually this far left lane here. And so if that's lit, you shoot it up here, it actually gets diverted. Again, much like whitewater we talked about, this gets diverted down here. And there's actually a left-hand plunger as well on this. Now, obviously on the 4K machine, you're still going to use your right plunger to plunge, but this left plunger is where you can then collect these steps rewards. And the steps rewards are these, you know, 3-hand finger pointing, maybe they should be middle fingers here. And so essentially when the ball comes down here, when your steps light is lit, the ball comes down here, you plunge it and you try to get it into one of these holes. Now, these holes will only get lit if you, so it starts off this first one here, Frenzy when lit. So this one here, they give it to you at the start of the game. It's free. For every time you light up these step spot targets, so you have to hit all 4 of these, you'll light the next one and light the next one. So this one here starts a frenzy mode, which is a timed hurry up mode where basically I think everything on the board is like 50,000 points. So basically any target you hit. So it's just a 25 seconds of like racking up the most points you can get. The next one's self-explanatory. It's extra ball. And then the last one here is 500,000 points. So as you light those, you again, get the ball down here, and then you have to kind of time or measure your plunge to get it in there. And then the other thing you can do, if you do a full plunge and it comes all the way around, it says here, light the super dog. And that super dog is here. This lights up and flashes, and then you hit this and it's extra points. I believe it's like 200,000 or 250,000 points for every time you hit that. Okay, so that's the ramp. Sorry, I think I misspoke when I said, when the steps is lit and it gets diverted, the ball gets diverted actually to this other rail here. So when you shoot the ball up here, it's either going to go down one of 2 rails. If it's not lit, it's going to come down to your flipper. If it's lit, it's going to come down here and feed down to the your left plunger, or the steps plunger. Okay, just want to make sure I was correct on that one. Okay, so the next one here, this is the wind tunnel / mirror award ball capture. Okay, so as you can see, to start the game, that little yellow light right there, that is the mirror value light. When that light is lit, you will collect whichever one is lit up or flashing here. So in this particular case, it starts off with quick multi-ball. So if I were to plunge, ball comes down, I shoot the ball up into this, right off the bat, you can start a multi-ball. And so the quick multi-ball, it's a 2-ball multi-ball. And like most of everything in this table, the goal is to try to either hit Rudy's face or hit this other shot. We'll get to those shots in just a second. So this shot here, when it's lit, you collect whichever bonus is lit up, okay? And if it's not lit, you shoot the ball in here and you basically get nothing. I think you get like 10,000 points. Not a lot of points. And what it does is it redirects the ball to the eject over here. And so essentially you won't really get the reward, and the ball will eject from here to this flipper, kind of, again, setting you up for, trying to make your next shot. So for my money, this is always a safe shot if you're just trying to, get it up here and set yourself up for your next target. That's always a good thing. Just hit it in there, reset it, get it down here, have it eject to your flippers, and try to control the ball and set it up. But this is tricky. We'll talk about that in a bit. this is one of the bigger challenges that I've seen and the bigger discrepancies that I've seen across all the different versions of this that I've played. So I'll get back to that in a second. But first, let's talk about all of the different awards here. So quick multi-ball we talked about. Very simple, straightforward, right? You throw the ball up in here, it locks for the multi-ball. The ball will come out to, a new ball will come out to the plunger, you plunge it, and then the second ball will eject out of the eject hole. So you have to be ready and waiting for that. And of course, again, the point of this is try to, for that quick multi-ball is to hit Rudy and get your millions, and then you can also hit, I believe, with the quick multi-ball, you also want to be hitting into the, to the cup door. Okay, so next one here is open crazy steps. That is lights up this steps light and gets you to be able to feed the ball into this plunger. So you're ready to talk about crazy steps. When you actually get the open crazy, the only difference for this though is when you open the steps, let's say when you hit the steps lights and you open the steps that way, you could actually only hit it up once. When you open the crazy steps this way, it actually stays open for as long as you have the ball in play. So it'll stay open until you drain, which is, you know, pretty cool. It gives you plenty of opportunities to try to get those, get these bonuses here. Next one here is light super dog. So super dog is over here. As we talked about, this light will light up, and then when you shoot, one of the things that I try to do is when you're kind of shooting for this shot, you can actually shoot from the flipper, have it hit off of this and go right in, and that's a pretty easy shot. So not only can you potentially get the reward or get the setup for the, you know, for the ball eject, but also you're collecting the points there. So it's a nice, easy, collect the points, get it in here, have it come back down, shoot it again, collect the points, have it come back down. You can do that several different times during Super Dog. Yeah, dog, Super Dog. Jet bumpers at max. That's pretty straightforward. That is maxing these out, and when it's at max, it just gives you, I don't know the number of points off the top of my head, but it maximizes the points. It also maximizes the amount of minutes that move the clock. And I haven't talked about the clock yet. Again, I'll get to that in just a bit. That's one of the main kind of points of the table. So we'll get to that in a second when we start talking about Rudy and the ball locks here. Light million is pretty straightforward. That's this orange triangle here, arrow. When you light that, when the ball, when you kind of get it set up where the ball comes around, basically what you're trying to do is just shoot and hit Rudy in the face and collect that 1,000,000 points. But it's only a one-time 1,000,000 points. And then last one is light extra ball. Pretty straightforward. When you get that one, this extra ball, red extra ball light gets lit. You shoot the ball in there. That's how you collect your extra ball. Let me see here. So the one other thing I wanted to say about this one here is, like, as we talked about, like, it starts off, these will go in order. So you start off with quick multi-ball. You collect that one. In order to relight, so after you collect this, right, this yellow light is lit, that shows that you can collect the award. Once you collect this award, the light goes away. The only way to relight it is to either the ball comes down this right in lane, and then when that happens, it relights this, but only relights it for like a few seconds, like not very long. What you really need to do is actually hit Rudy in the face. That kind of makes it relight. I don't want to say permanently, but it relights until you hit the shot again. So that's another reason why you want to try to continuously hit Rudy, because that's how you work your way through these. Now, when you actually do all 6 of these and complete the mirror, this is, again, these are called the mirror awards. That is when it will unlock a special mode called Super Frenzy. And in that particular mode, everything on the table, all the shots on the table are worth 100,000 points. So that is, you know, for lack of a better term, that's kind of the wizard mode of this, if there really is such a thing. It's collecting all of these, and then you get to that super frenzy. And super frenzy is not, it's not a multi-ball, it's still your single ball, but basically everything you hit on the table is 100,000 points, and it racks up quick. But the important thing to know about the super frenzy is that it collects all those points. So let's say you get the super frenzy and you're smashing the ball around, and you collect by the end of this the time the frenzy's over, which I believe is 25 seconds. By the time it's over, you collect maybe 2.5 million points or 3 million points. Let's call it 3 million points. Well, you don't get that 3 million points right away. It actually doesn't come until your end of ball bonus. So the one thing that, any kind of tutorial you'll see, don't fucking tilt. If you tilt, you lose that completely. So you need to make sure if you get the super frenzy and you complete it, don't tilt that ball. You'll lose all those points. They go bye-bye, and you feel fucked in the ass. So be careful. Be careful out there. Okay. Next is this center ramp shot, and they also called it the hidden hallway. So this shot, as I mentioned before, is super, super, super important. It's if there's one shot that you really want to learn, there's probably two main shots that you really, really want to learn how to do in this table. But this is definitely up there, 1A and 1B. 1A it would be probably hitting Rudy. This would be 1B. So this shot, as I mentioned earlier, is where you put the ball up here, it traps it, gives you a few seconds to kind of take a breather, and then the ball is going to eject. It's going to roll down nice and slowly to your upper left flipper here, and that's how you get your cross shot. So this is one of those, when in doubt, throw the ball here. Throw the ball up here, and it gives you a nice setup to try to get your Rudy shot. But that kind of brings me to the main crux, the main point of the game, and that is hitting these cross shots and hitting Rudy, and getting to the point where you get to the multi-ball, which is really where all the points are on this table. So jumping ahead to the clock, and I'll get back to the center shot in a second. But so when you start the game, as you can see, this is the clock here. The clock starts at 8 o'clock, okay? As you kind of hit targets around on the table, and I'm not going to go into all the details of, because every target is different. Some targets give you 5 minutes, some targets give you 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. There's different kind of amounts for each target. But basically, as you're playing, my recommendation is if you're hitting this shot, you're hitting that shot, or you're hitting any of these three, you're going to be advancing this clock relatively quickly. I believe it is this center shot that continues to increase every time you hit it. So like the first time it's like 15 minutes, then it's 20, then it's 25, and goes up to 30. I think it maxes out. So, but as you can see, like when you play the game, you'll know that the clock goes, you accumulate the minutes on the clock pretty quickly. So ultimately, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get it to midnight and start multi-ball mode. So as you hit shots, you'll see the lights kind of accumulate, and you'll see if you get 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, you'll see the outer kind of the minutes the minutes are on the outside. You'll see those light up and those go around, and then eventually this will come up. But essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to get this clock to get to 11:30, okay? When the clock gets to 11:30, you'll see the lock light for this center shot, okay? That lets you know, and it'll tell you everything stops, and the DMD will say it's 11:30 and the funhouse is about to close, and yada yada yada, fuck. So what you need to do is when the lock light is lit, very simple, shoot the ball in there, and that's going to be ball lock 1, and then it's going to go from 11:30 to 11:45, and then it's going to reset your ball down here in the plunger. You're going to plunge and then do the same thing. And the ball lock is still going to be lit. You're going to lock ball number 2, and it's going to say it goes from 11:45 to midnight, and it's going to do a whole big fucking spiel on, oh, it's midnight, the funhouse is closed, Rudy's going to fall asleep, and he's going to fall asleep with his fucking mouth hanging open. And so in order to start the multi-ball after that, you're again going to, the ball's it's going to say midnight, everything's going to go dark, he's going to go to sleep, and then you're going to plunge the ball. And from there, the only way to start multi-ball is you got to shoot the ball into his gaping open mouth. Yes, you want your balls in his mouth so you can start multi-ball. So once you shoot the ball in his mouth, you get awarded 1,000,000 points right off the bat. He's going to choke on your balls, he's going to gargle them, and then he's going to spit them out, and then that's going to then trigger the 2 locked balls up here to get ejected. So couple things to note when you're starting multi-ball. He spits out, so all of the versions of this table that I played, he will spit the ball out, but he'll spit it out and it will never reach this flipper. It's gonna just go bleh, and it's gonna come and it's gonna fall down here. Now the thing that's a bitch about that is this ball is, the first one he's spitting out is coming down here, and simultaneously the first ball is being ejected here. And then the timing never syncs up. So it's a bit difficult. In my opinion, and I know I keep going back to the whitewater references, but in whitewater, when you're starting the multi-ball and trying to get the jackpot, the recommendation is when you shoot the first ball across, just let it go and let it drain. Don't worry about it. I kind of make the same recommendation for this, is like, let that first ball go. Don't worry about it. Focus on the first ball that's being ejected so that you can get the timing right and get this shot across. So when multi-ball starts, you don't want to be hitting Rudy necessarily. What you want to do is hit this trapdoor shot. So when the midnight, just to be clear, this one here is called the midnight multi-ball. That's the one, again, when you shoot in Rudy's mouth and it's midnight, that's midnight multi-ball. When midnight multi-ball starts, the trapdoor here opens on this kind of second crossing shot. And so that first shot in Rudy's mouth is 1,000,000 points, and then the shot into the trapdoor is 2,000,000 points, okay? So right off the bat, you can get 3,000,000 just from, those 2 balls. Now, the third ball comes out, but here's the problem. Once you hit that trap door, it is closed, and what you need to do is you need to actually shoot, I believe it's the center shot, in order to reset and reopen the trap door. So once you do that, you the trapdoor will open, and it goes from 2,000,000 to 3,000,000. And so basically during the multi-ball, you have to keep doing that. You have to keep reopening the trapdoor, and every time you hit the trapdoor, it increases by 1,000,000. So it starts at 2, goes to 3, goes all the way up to 10, and maxes out at 10. Now, the chances of being able to do that multiple times, I mean, obviously, if you're really, really good at it, you can. I have a really hard time hitting it maybe more than twice in a single multi-ball, because the multi-ball doesn't really last. Oh, obviously, multi-ball lasts as long as you can keep the balls alive. But again, this is really, really tough to keep them all going, because this tends to be a drain monster if you miss your shots. So anyway, but the whole point is, when you start multi-ball, you want to be shooting for the trapdoor, and then resetting the trapdoor with the center shot, and then opening it again, and then getting your cross shot there. So that is the basics of multi-ball. And really, like I said, you got the 1,000,000 for hitting Rudy in the face. You get the 2 to as many as 10 for every time you hit the trapdoor. So needless to say, all of the fucking points are in the multi-ball. And so you know, you want to try to do that as many times as possible within a game. And the thing about it is, in my opinion, that, you know, starting the multi-ball isn't really the hard part. I mean, the hardest thing is just getting this stupid crossing shot into his fucking mouth. But so there's no reason why you can't go through a game of this without getting that multi-ball 2-3 times. So if you only hit the, you know, the trapdoor once or twice during a multi-ball, I wouldn't worry about it, because you're going to get more, you know, because the multi-ball, in my opinion, is really not that hard to it's not that hard to get it to midnight, you know, to, you know, get it to 11:30 and lock the 2 balls. It's just the hard part is then setting yourself up to get that shot into Rudy's mouth to actually start the multi-ball. That's the hardest thing about it. And if you get that practice down and know how to make that shot, then you'll have no problem starting multi-ball 2, 3, 4, 5 times a game. Okay, so that covers that. So really quickly though, you know, putting the multi-ball aside, just talk about just hitting Rudy in the face. So as we talked about, you have this cross shot and you've got the 2 different lanes here. So hitting Rudy is still pretty important in the game, because what it does is you start off the game and you automatically have they give you 1 free hit on Rudy's face. For an end of ball bonus after you drain, you get 50,000 points for every hit you have on Rudy for every single ball, and that includes even all your extra balls. So, and they don't go away; they accumulate over the course of the game. So over the course of the game, if you're hitting Rudy, you know, if you hit Rudy in the face 10 times, that's 10 times 50,000. There you go. You're you know, 500,000 points right there, just in end of ball bonuses. So it doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds up, because the other thing I'll say about this is not a super high scoring game. You know, I think on Zen Pinball World, you know, my high score was in the 30 something millions, and it's among the top scores on there. So you know, my guess is that, you know, when people get used to the game and really start playing it, your top scores are going to be in the tens of millions, maybe in that 30, 40, 50, maybe 60 million range. Is probably where it's going to top out. I don't think anyone's going to be in the 100 million, certainly not a billion on this table. So anyway, my whole point on that is, you know, collect the millions where you can, you know, get the Rudy hits, because it does add up, especially if you're going to go through the ball. Like, this is also a table where you can get a good 2-3 extra balls a game as well. So they'll add up, and you get that end of ball bonus every single time. You know, it could really, really boost your score. So don't sleep on just putting your balls right up all up on his chin. The other thing I'll kind of point out, this is not, I didn't see it in any, it's not in the instructions that Zen puts out, but it is there. I tried it, it works. At least it definitely worked on Zen Pinball World. But when you hit Rudy in the chin 6 times in the game, there's kind of a hidden bonus that they don't tell you about, and it's called the sausage bonus. I'm not fucking kidding. Try it yourselves. You know, don't take my word for it. See for yourselves. They call it the fucking sausage bonus when you hit him in the face 6 times. I told you it's a homoerotic game. What do you want me to say? But it's 1,000,000 points. So yeah, get your balls in his chin so you can get that sausage. Okay, and then the other shot is this trapdoor shot. So the trapdoor shot, again, very tough. You really need to figure out the timing of it. But essentially the way it works is when you first start the game and you make the cross shot, okay, you hit this loop, it comes all the way around the first time, and then the trapdoor opens. And then if you shoot it in there, the first trapdoor shot, I believe it's like 50,000 points. So again, anyway, so that's the first shot, okay? Then if you were to do it again, you actually have to hit the ball twice, and then the trapdoor opens on the third shot, and then you have to hit the third one in there. And then you can collect that one. But then after that, you then have to hit the ball around 3 times. And this is for the entire game, okay? Once you do it once, it stays this way for the rest of the game. Then in order to get the trapdoor open, you have to hit around 3 times and then get it. And if you can do that, that's actually, that third one is 1,000,000 points. At least that third time getting it in the trapdoor. But ultimately, it requires you to loop it 4 times in a row. Look, man, if you can do that, more power to you. That is fucking hard to get that timing down, to do that 4 fucking times in a row. I know I can't do it. We'll see if you can get the timing down and get in a groove, get in the rhythm. Great, but the reality is, let's just say, for example, you're on your second one, right? So you did the first loop and you collected the first one, and then you hit it a loop around and looped around. And then the trapdoor opens, but then you miss the next shot. Well, the trapdoor does stay open, but it stays open for only about like 8 seconds or something like that, 8 to 10 seconds. So in theory, you could miss the shot, it could come down, and you could try to get it back up, and you'll have like one last gasp at trying to hit it. But ultimately, for the most part, you're only going to get that trapdoor if you get the constant loop. If you miss it, chances are you're probably not getting back up there and hitting it again before the trapdoor closes on you. So just keep that in mind. But again, for me, that trapdoor shot is probably not worth the points and worth all of the effort, because it's so dangerous if you miss. And so this is where I kind of I'll get into some of the tips, at least things that I've experienced, because at this point I've covered all of the shots on the table. Like I said, the last one here is this gangway shot that I cannot recommend going for that intentionally, because it's just very dangerous. You're going to get a bounce back down the middle. But with this shot here, the one thing I've found is if you clank it in the middle, there is a very, very, very high likelihood that the ball comes back down, kicks off the top of the slingshot, and kicks out. That happens a lot. It also happens where it comes down, clangs off the top of the slingshot, and goes down the middle. That is the one shot that I say that, like, when I miss, the chances of it draining are probably greater than 60%. Like, it's more likely than not that it's probably going to drain if you miss the crossing shot. And that's not to say if you miss it, say, oh, fuck it and give up. But it's just like that is really the most difficult part of the game, in my opinion, is like missing that crossing shot does lead to some pretty bad shit. But you have to do it. It's part of the game. This is the only way you're going to get points. The only way that you're going to do well in this game is if you learn how to make these fucking shots. If you can't, and you're constantly, clanking it and going down, you're just not going to get a ton of points in this. So, like I talked about, if the most important shots to learn in this game are getting it in this middle, and then timing the cross shot to either hit Rudy or get this this trapdoor shot. The other thing I wanted to talk about is this fucking eject hole. Okay, so much like with whitewater, the eject hole definitely puts you on your heels quite a bit. Now, every version of the game that I've played on different platforms, so FX3, Pinball FX, which is what this is, and Zen Pinball World, the ball reacts differently, every single one of them, okay? So the frustrating thing about Pinball FX3, which I hope that the physics are not like this for 4KP, is that for FX3, okay, the ball ejects and comes to this flipper, right? Every single time. It's coming to this flipper. It's not ejecting out here. It's ejecting straight down. Okay, for FX3, for FX, where we are right now on this particular platform that you're looking at, the ball, if you leave the flipper down, if you leave the flipper down, the ball shoots out, hits this flipper, comes across, hits this flipper, hits the bottom of the slingshot and perfectly goes right down the middle. And there's nothing you can do about it. Because if you try to catch it with this flipper, it literally goes right over it. Okay, so you can't dead flip. Okay, however, if you put your flipper up, ball shoots down, hits the flipper, bounces up, hits the corner post here, and also goes down the middle. And I could show it to you. I don't want to make this video too long. So for Pinball FX, this eject hole kind of fucks you if you try to catch it, or if you try to dead flip it, it goes out no matter what. So for Pinball FX, you actually have to play it. You have to flip. You have to do something to try to fight the ball off. My biggest or kind of best strategy has been to try to like kind of almost dead catch it on this one, so that like it doesn't like, so if you just hold the flipper up, it bounces kind of sturdy. Or I kind of like, I don't know, it's hard to kind of describe. I kind of let the flipper go and kind of deaden the bounce so that it doesn't hit this. That's the best strategy that I've been able to find. However, if you go over to Pinball FX3, on Pinball FX3, you can actually just let it dead bounce over and catch it over on this flipper. So the ball bounces down and you just catch it on this flipper, no problem. I'm hoping that the 4K version does that as well. So that just makes your life a lot fucking easier. Trust me, if that ball comes out, you can dead flip and catch it here, then you can hit these shots all fucking day. And that is just that would make the game so much easier to play. Too easy, maybe. I know that some people are like, oh, well, you shouldn't be able to catch the ball so easily on a lot of these Zen tables, but I personally prefer that. That would be great. The same thing on and the irony is on Zen Pinball World, you can actually do both. You can if you have this flipper out, you can catch it, or you can let it dead flip. So we'll see how the physics work for the 4KP, but that's just one thing to keep in mind, is learn how the ball reacts out of this eject hole to help you set up your next shot and how you're going to kind of play this table. Like I said, my favorite thing is letting it be dead flip, be able to catch it over here, because then this is just such an easy shot, whether you want to go for the mirror rewards or go for the middle to set you up for your crossing shot. Let me think. I think that pretty much covers everything that I wanted to cover. So essentially, again, the keys to this game are, like I said, learning the shots, obviously, but getting to the multi-ball is really where all the points are. And you know, the points don't come in huge bunches. You know, you're going to get the 1,000,000 points for shooting Rudy. You know, you're going to collect, as you know, through the course of play, you're going to be collecting the 50,000 per you know, chin shot on Rudy. You're going to be getting these, you know, collecting these awards. Again, don't sleep on collecting the multi-balls. You get the multi-ball as one of the awards here. And then also, if you, again, can hit these orbit shots, you can get an extra ball for through the gangway. And I believe there's an extra ball at a certain point level that I cannot remember off the top of my head. So you can collect a handful of extra balls there as well. And of course, there's an extra ball here with the steps as well. So there's extra balls to be had. And that's pretty much it. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this. If you do, you know, pop a comment. If I missed anything, or if you have any other pointers, feel free to throw it in the comments. Yeah, sorry, it's late in the day here, so I appreciate you guys watching, and we look forward to playing this one when it launches in less than 12 hours here. So we will we'll talk to you all on the Discords and see you on the leaderboards. Thanks a lot, and we will talk soon. Take care. Bye.